Hey guys, Tom Owens Autos here and welcome to another video. Today we are replacing the power steering fluid on my Honda Accord. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay, so tools that we've got today, as in we've got my pad to lay down them so they don't get cold. We've also got a turkey baster equivalent so I can get all the fluid out of the power steering reservoir. Got my jack and the axle stand so I can jack her up safely. Toolbox so I can take stuff apart. And then we've got the cloths for any spillage, and just so that I can preempt any spillage going onto the paintwork because it is hydraulic fluid. Then I've got my pliers so I can take the hoses off, and then I've also got some genuine Ultra Honda power steering fluid, PSF2. This is the genuine stuff you should be using on your Honda. Check out your service manual for what fluid you should be using. And then I've also got my, what I've completely forgotten the name of, to fill it up. And I've got some clips because I'm going to replace the clips. But yeah, pretty easy job and you don't need many tools at all. So let's get into the first step. Now I've remembered that this is actually called a funnel. First step is to jack up the car. So as you can see, what I've done is I've got the car support on the axle stands there as per the service manual, and then that's where I've jacked it up from. So what I'll do now is I'll remove the jack and we'll get on step 2. Step 2 of the job is to locate your power steering fluid reservoir, which for me is here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my funnel, or my turkey baster if you like, or whatever you want to call it, extractor, and I'm going to extract all the old fluid and put it into a basin. So I've got my basin, as you can see I've got my pumper here, and I've got the sucker side into the actual fluid itself. You can see I've already started it. And then it's simply just going to go into the drain bowl. Top tip as well, while you're doing this and you've got a clean pipe, it's a really good idea to check the condition of your fluid, see how dark it is it contaminated, anything like that. And as you can see, this stuff is pretty good. I do this every 2 years and it's pretty spot on, which is good news. Shows that the power steering system in this car is nice and healthy. Once all of that has been drained, it's a good idea as well to have a little look inside. It seems like there's sort of a mesh filter at the bottom of that. Everything looks clean and everything looks good. If there's debris, it's a good idea to clean it all out. I'll get in down there in a rag as well and try and clean as much as I can out. And then the next step, we are going to disconnect the return hose. So we've got this hose here, and you can see where my hand is touching here. This hose, which goes to the power steering pump, what happens is the fluid in the reservoir will go to the power steering pump, it will go to the rack, etc., where the power steering pump will push it around. What we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the return line, which is this line here. This line, we're going to disconnect this line, and then what's going to happen is when we're turning the wheel later on, it's going to go through the reservoir to the pump, rack, and then it's going to come out to this line, and then that's how we're going to keep bleeding it. So we'll disconnect that line. All I'm going to use my pliers. Just some nice pliers. I'm going to disconnect that clip, and then I'll pull off the hose, and I'll be back with you when I've done that. It is always a good idea to put some cloths or some flannelette down as well, just while we're taking this hose off, because some fluid may pop out and you don't want that to get on any of your surfaces. So this is the setup that I'm into, and what I'm doing, I've taken a clip off. What I'm doing is I'm basically going to wiggle the pliers slowly without damaging it, wiggling like slow, pulling away on the reservoir, and the hose should pop off. And now the hose is loose enough, I can simply just pull it away. There you go, that is the hose off. I've taken the power steering reservoir out of its bracket. What I'm going to do now is, because I like to clean, I'm going to clean up the whole area, reservoir, I'm going to clean all the bottom. Once I've done that, I'll get a basin and then I shall start to drain and flush. So that's everything back together now. I've cut out the bottom of a water bottle, plastic water bottle, just put in there as a basin. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill up the power steering reservoir. Once I've done that, start the car, and then we'll go into the procedure of actually flushing it. So I've got my genuine power steering fluid. Let's fill it up, shall we? So see when it gets to the full mark. Just about to see it on the video, hopefully. All the way up to the upper level. Happy days. Okay, so I've got everything back together and the car is now running. You can do this either one of two ways, so have the car jacked up at both times. What you can do is you can leave the return hose, that top hose and power steering fluid, leave that connected. You turn the wheel, let's say 10 or 20 times, get the fluid around, the new fluid around, all fluid push out. Then you can use the extractor which I've got down there to then extract the fluid out and do that until it becomes clearer and clearer and you flush everything out. Or what you can do is you can remove the return hose. You can bung that up, which is what I forgot to do, which is why it took me so long to get back into this video. You can probably see that the sun's nearly setting. I had to clean everything up, power steering fluid and everywhere. But anyway, yeah, you can bung that, and then you can simply put the return hose into a container, which is what I had before, and then you can flush that way. The second way is definitely more recommended than the first one, but both will do the job perfectly well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start turning the wheel, and then I'm going to come and drain all the oil fluid out. The car is now on, and we're simply going to turn the wheel. In this case, I haven't got any of the hoses disconnected, so none of the fluid is going to escape. It's just going to go back into the reservoir. If you were, however, having that bottom hose disconnected, that return hose disconnected, then you would want to check your reservoir, because the fluid is going to be coming out the other end. But I checked mine, I'm happy it's staying the same level, so I'm just going to do this 10 times, and then we'll see how dirty the fluid is. Okay, what I've done is I've turned the engine off, and then I've turkey basted, or I've just extracted all the fluid. Now I'm simply going to move this kit, and then I'm going to put more fluid in. Same process again, and I'll do this until I complete the full flush, until the fluid is nice and clear. So that is the flush complete. I've bled it out of any air as well, topped up to the max, and all we'll do now is we'll go for a test drive, wait for it to get cold, and then fill it up to the upper level, as you can see on there. Apart from that is it. Okay, that is the test drive complete, and the car is all good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Like I said, quick intro on how to change your power steering fluid. 2 ways, both old school. I did it obviously the first way, keeping the return line on in the end. Just takes a little bit longer, but it still means it can get flushed out correctly. But hopefully everybody enjoyed that video, and please like, subscribe, all that sort of good stuff, and put any comments down below. How do you change your power steering fluid, and when do you think, in terms of mileage and age, you should change your fluid? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.